about round one of The Business of Boxing with your host, Steve Swift, which is brought to you by Steve Swift's Rambling Reviews, you'll know of them, and Law. I fought the Law, and they were very nice, actually. Live Audio Wrestling, who have asked me to do a weekly show around the business of boxing and rounding that up. You know I bang on about the business of boxing versus the boxing of boxing. Now, sometimes the business of boxing messes up the boxing of boxing and vice versa. And so, I'm very pleased to be doing that this week because of the way that we've still got rumblings, ladies and gentlemen, of the Ryan Garcia situation versus Devin Haney. Just to recap for everybody, for those few people who don't know, he was fighting Devin Haney for Devin Haney's £140 title. And Devin Haney came in at 140 on the button. Very nice. But Ryan Garcia came in at 143.2. That's overweight. And he couldn't fight for the championship, and he had to give $1.5 million to Devin Haney's team. Or to Devin Haney himself. Here, mate, here's a load of cash, etc. So, as I said recently on my podcast after this situation, what does it then matter? People who paid to see that fight are now seeing a fight which is non-title. Does it make any difference? And he leaned into that, Ryan Garcia, that was the unofficial weigh-in. The official weigh-in, he weighed in at 143.2 and he swigged on a beer bottle. And people said to me, it wasn't beer, it was apple juice. It doesn't make any difference. He said, I was drinking a cool beer or something like that. And he leaned into it. And this is the thing about the business of boxing with Ryan Garcia. Although this is the business of boxing with Steve Swift. He might want to co-host with me, who knows? However, the unpredictability is the thing which is now, at the moment, selling him. Because of the pronouncements he's made around some very concerning pronouncements around abuse when he was younger, and this needs looking into, and he needs to get that. People should offer him the help that he needs. But also pronouncements that people are saying, what about? Which is around there being an earthquake very soon in Las Vegas and Los Angeles, and also about him being kidnapped by the Illuminati. This is the way that he is branding himself, or maybe not. Maybe he isn't well and needs some help, and we need to add that caveat the whole time. But it's part of his brand that says, unavoidably it's part of his brand, that says I'm unpredictable. You never know what you're going to get. And by missing that weight, you never know what you're going to get, do you? Now, he then went on to beat Devin Haney, not incontrovertibly because it was a majority decision, and Haney did boss him in the middle rounds, put the pressure on as I thought he would, but he's put down 4 times. And Ryan Garcia looked great, and people are saying, well, he's a great boxer, but that boxing of boxing was affected by the business of boxing, wasn't it? And maybe Ryan Garcia is saying, well, I don't necessarily have to be a champion to make money in this sport. Remember, the pinnacle of this sport of boxing is champion versus champion. Unified titles. Like the Tyson Fury and Alexander Usyk fight. And I'll talk more about that in a minute, of course. Just below that is champ versus number 1 contender. Just below that is number 1 contenders fight. Then you get fights that are, well, there's no belts at stake, but they've always wanted to fight each other, and it will be good. Amir Khan versus Kell Brooks springs to mind recently. Then you get, well, actually, this is going to be a tear-up, but it's a small hole show, for instance. They're really wanting to fight each other. They're really wanting to move up in their career. And then you get the exhibition boxing or influencer boxing or Farrago boxing, if you want to call it that. I'll inevitably have to talk about that during this podcast. No, it's a video. I don't often do videos. You can see my lovely face, florid though it is. Now, and my retro England shirt. Very nice. And, of course, my boxing glove, which is lovely. Now, more about Ryan Garcia. Because he could lean into, well, I'm just unpredictable. I might not have a belt, but you put bums on seats with me. People put their hands in their pockets for pay-per-views with me because you never know what you're going to get. Am I going to figuratively turn up or not? At some point now, inevitably, promoters are going to say, well, that wasn't a very good fight and I need you to fight well because the boxing of boxing has got to be good if the business of boxing is so extraordinary. And Ryan Garcia has come out recently and said, and named Sebastian Fundora moving up in weight as a possible title challenge for him because he needs titles. Paraphrasing him, but he needs titles to get respect. Well, you had a chance at a title, didn't you, mate? Funny you should say that, because there was a chance last week that you could have got a title, but you blew it, didn't you? Making weight is one of the fundamental things of boxing. You turn up, you throw punches, you play your tactics, you defend yourself at all times, you make weight, you don't fail a drugs test. That's it, isn't it, really? There might be some I've missed, but I don't think so. Making weight is one of the things. So, if you wanted a title, you could have done that last week, couldn't you, eh? So we got that. And we don't know really who he's going to fight, but people are saying, oh, he's great, you see, because he fought. Well, no, because there's an asterisk beside that win. Timothy Bradley thinks there is. More of that in a minute. Because meanwhile, this is like a caper movie, the boxing game, isn't it? Meanwhile, ace promoter Eddie Hearn has said, you know what fight I'd like to see Ryan Garcia in? A fight with Conor Benn. Conor Benn! Conor Benn is another one who does not need, at the moment, it's thought, a title reign to put bums on seats because his brand is particularly interesting at the moment. Remember, he failed a drugs test. He then said he wouldn't take the rap on the knuckles and time off or a suspension. He fought it. He had a load of paperwork from his team saying that it was a skewed reading or something like that. Piers Morgan, who I'm not massively keen on, but he was right to ask, why don't you just publish it? He was then given a way out by the eggs defence. He had so many eggs. I think he had 30,000 eggs in one day. I think when he was sleeping, he had intravenous eggs, and consequently, that skewed the reading. He didn't take that opportunity. He didn't say, it could be that, you know. He said, I've got all this paperwork. I don't think he's ever published it, has he? And he's boxing again. So, Ryan Garcia versus Conor Benn, I don't know what kind of fight it would be, because it doesn't matter. The boxing of boxing in this case doesn't matter. Adding the caveat again that whenever you get into a boxing ring, it really does matter that you defend yourself because you could be very ill or you might lose your life. So this is serious stuff. But the boxing of boxing is not what's here. It's the business of boxing that we're talking about. And Eddie Hearn, who knows exactly what he's doing, and I respect him as a boxing promoter of that kind of roll-up stance, gets Conor Benn's name out there, doesn't he? By linking it with Ryan Garcia, everyone's talking about. Meanwhile, Timothy Bradley has said that really there is an asterisk to this win because he had £3 more, and consequently, that could be seen as cheating. Paraphrasing, but it could be seen. And it could. I don't know how it affected Devin Haney. I also don't know how, when we're not fighting for your title anymore, affected him either. He might not have turned up that night. And if Ryan Garcia wants wants a rematch, and bear in mind, I don't think he said he does, then maybe the £3 weight advantage were part of the knockdowns. He did say, Ryan Garcia, I've got a £3 advantage now. Well, you know, it's just odd, isn't it? Just really, really odd. But then that's the business of boxing, isn't it? That's Ryan Garcia. Meanwhile, we have supposedly the pinnacle of boxing, the Usyk versus Tyson Fury fight. But you've still got the boxing of boxing there, or the business of boxing there, should I say, affecting the boxing of boxing, because Usyk has recently come out, or his camp have recently come out and said, well, you know, there might be a problem with this cut, which of course postponed the fight, and he got the cut in his training camp, did Tyson Fury, and people said he's cut himself so he doesn't need to fight Usyk. Come on! These things happen in camps. They do. And Usyk's team have said if he can't make the fight, then they've got another person that they've well, hang on a minute, you can't decide who you're going to fight if Tyson Fury doesn't. Surely the awarding bodies do that, do they not? Anyway, they've announced that if they can't fight Tyson Fury, they're going to fight Flip Hrgovic. Way! I bet those people who bought pay-per-views for Tyson Fury and Alexander Usyk will be saying, well, I liked that fight, but this is even better. I'm going to put I'm going to phone my provider and ask to pay an extra £10 for that, because that's even better. Flip Hrgovic! This is the business of boxing. And there's another, well, you see, I think that Tyson Fury needs this fight. He needs to win this fight, and he needs this fight so much, like he's never needed a fight before, because of a business of boxing decision he made, which backfired, fighting Francis Ngannou, who put him down, and I believe, as many others do, won that fight. He bossed that fight. And maybe you can say that Tyson Fury, it was money, and he didn't really prepare for it. But Ngannou was an unproven boxer, and he has been shown since then. At the time, people thought maybe he's going to turn out to be a superb boxer, but he's been shown since then to not be able to live at those levels, because AJ put him down. He looked all at sea, to be honest, and AJ's not a champion, and Tyson Fury is. So Tyson Fury's brand has suffered very badly. And you know that Tyson Fury does all the stuff with, he's got that Tyson Fury chat. He's a dancer, he's a shithouse, and all that. And that's been very quiet, hasn't it? In fact, when we saw the Ngannou AJ press conference before the fight, he made some comments about his last fight against Fury, and Fury wanted to talk back. Now, in the past, what would happen is Fury was in attendance. You put him near the front, don't you? You get a microphone to him quickly, and then he can do easy dancer, he's a shithouse, and do all that. Here, the camera cut to him. He was in the middle of the audience. No microphone was rushed to him. He was shouting, couldn't be heard. That's where you are now, Tyson. That is where you are now. And he needs to win this fight. In the past, he would have made pronouncements now. We would have been seeing him every day. Would have been hearing him every day. It is quiet. Quiet. And I don't think that the brand is bristling anymore. And I don't also think that he will beat Alexander Usyk. I didn't think he would before. I thought he had a chance if he was big and he leant on Usyk and he worked the body like AJ did in their last fight, because that's the only Achilles heel I can see for Usyk, who's a great cruiserweight boxer. But with Fury taking so much weight off, he's probably going to want to dance with him. Don't dance with him. Don't dance with him. So, I'm sometimes wrong in boxing. I seldom am wrong in boxing. I have to say, patting myself on the back. Yes. And I'm looking forward to the fight, though, because Fury needs it a lot more than Usyk does. And Usyk is the one who is winning that business of boxing fight at the moment. And who would have expected that, eh? Meanwhile, in the carnival, we've got Jake Paul facing Mike Tyson. Yeah, although Jake Paul might face Tyson Fury in a few years, we don't know. Now, Jake Paul confuses me and also upsets me, because he wants to be a boxer. When he lost to Tommy Fury, he said, this will make things better, and I will train better, and I really want to be a boxer. And then he fought Nate Diaz, an MMAer. And okay, he's come back to boxing with a couple of fights against lower level opposition, building his CV, his boxing CV, his boxing record, as often happens when promoters put you against a boxer who might be a journeyman. You might want to walk around. It might be someone who challenges you. He was doing that. Now we've got him fighting Mike Tyson, because it seems like he can't resist it. Either you're going to fight boxers who are lower down the rungs and people might not come out, and that's going to affect your brand, but you're going to have to do it if you want to be a boxer, aren't you? I won't see you for a while, and then suddenly you'll be challenging for a title, and that'll be great. Or you want to get the bums on seats and get the influencer clicks and all of that. You can't do both, mate. And with the Mike Tyson thing, I don't know. Mike Tyson looks good, but he's 57, and in his last fight, he quit on his stool against what a lot of people called, and I'll use the J word again, a journeyman. So, but then they're not at the same weights, and then it's bloody ridiculous. Because this exhibition fighting thing affects the legitimacy of boxing so much. And I love boxing and I'm a fan. And we've already got people affecting the legitimacy of boxing within the legitimate boxing world. So don't just, well, it's fun, but that's about all. Am I getting het up about nothing? I don't think so. Because it's all right when you're saying, well, I'll fight somebody who's, you look like you're a big bloke. You at the back of the queue for the bakery. Did you? Yeah, I boxed a bit at school. I'll fight you. Now that's fine. Or, you used to be a boxer. I'll fight you. But not when you've got people like Tyson Fury, who's a current champion, saying, I'll just do an exhibition. It affects the legitimacy of boxing so much. And it really bothers me. Talking of good boxing, though, we had a couple of good boxing fights this week. First of all, Virgil Ortiz Jr. I mean, doing for is the phrase I'll use, his sparring partner Duarte in the first round with a nasty liver shot. I mean, it was a nasty left-hand liver shot, and you don't get up from them. You just don't. So he will cement his opportunity to fight Tim 2. That's not such a big fight as it was a few weeks ago, is it now? But, yeah, it was extraordinary to see. And even better to see was Ramirez versus Bartolome. Anyway, it was Rances. The thing is, the business of boxing was sold with, Rances is a veteran and Ramirez is coming back. Well, Ramirez is a bit of a veteran as well, actually, and he was put down. The referee didn't call it a knockdown, but there was a left hand that was available to his opponent all the way through the fight. Well, certainly the early rounds. It stiffened his legs, and he looked like he was off balance, but he was off balance because it stiffened his legs. And Bartolome hit him when he was down. He did. Got a couple of punches, it looked like, when he was touched down, and the referee spoke to him about it, but then should have given an 8 count, or an 8 count, and then spoke to him about it. But he didn't. And eventually, even though Ramirez was bothered again with that left hand and very little head movement, he wanted to use his work rate to beat Bartolome, and he did. He did by a wide margin on the cards, and his opponent was tired out by the end of it, you could see, and probably maybe that I need to hit a big left hand, which is what he wanted to do throughout the whole fight, certainly the early part of the fight, but that put him down and the referee didn't give it. That might have taken the heart out of Bartolome, it might have done. It was a good boxing fight. There was a slugfest. They're the words they used on commentary, and it did seem that way. Really good, but the business of boxing comes into play here, because Ramirez didn't look like he could bother anybody in the welterweight class, anybody who was up top of the welterweight class. So people are going to be saying, why don't we fight Ramirez? Because he has no head movement, and I can probably get him out of there. So by not having a great showing, Ramirez probably opens himself up to more opportunities. This is the business of boxing. It is ridiculous. And that is one of the reasons why I love it. Ta-ta.